So I worked for like 2 weeks, so I didn't get to touch this crap for 2 weeks. But I came home today and I made some new labels for this thing. And I know on camera they may look keystoned or whatever, but I assure you they're straight. Now, as if I glued them on there, straight or not, I got them as close as I could. So I did a few things. I painstakingly undid all them resistor leads back there. Took this apart today. And as I said in my last video, I put an AmpLab voltmeter on here that has a button that grabs the drop. And I also added some LEDs for which mode it's in to help see. I still got the white and the blue. And these were so damn bright. I experimented with some resistors and I got all the way up to about 2K in series with these. Added another 2K to get them. I mean, they're still kind of bright, but it's just kind of nature of them, but they're not overbearing like they were. So this meter right here from AmpLab is an OLED, I guess, meter. And I did something different with this one. I actually put a relay on the power of the amp dyno, because this is going to be hooked up. There's going to be leads coming out with the power leads that go to the amp. This is going to measure the voltage drop at the amp. And if I still have power here and I turn the amp dyno off, it's going to drop the power to this, even though there's may still be power coming to the box for this. So that's just the way, if I don't have to have this separate. So when I turn the power off, this whole thing shuts down, and that's how I wanted it. So again, this has a separate power supply running this. It's that little power supply right there. It's like a little 20 amp, 12 volt. And I got it set at 12 volt because those relays in there were designed for 12 volts, and I don't want to run it on 14.4 or whatever. Might shorten the life of them, I guess. I don't know. This can, but these are running on 12 volts also. And that'd be fine for this because it doesn't really need to be on the amplifier voltage. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you what happens here. So, this is the battery charger. I turn it on. Okay, and you see that doesn't come on. I got it hooked up for this meter here. Now when I turn the amp dyno on, you'll see everything come alive here. And there's the little AmpLab meter. All little OLED screens. I took that little cheesy, little cheap, I guess that little Chinese made meter off of here. And I thought I ordered some more of this kind of gold fleck tape for the little brother label printer, but I got this smooth gold, which is fine. I was able to finally figure out how to turn these 90 degrees on the label maker. And I just used some little thin plastic. It's like the lid to one of those little things you get like at Harbor Freight that's got a bunch of little screws and bolts, or the same little box that got heat shrink in it. It's kind of a opaque, clear, flexible plastic. And I just stuck this sticker to it and cut it out with some scissors and just kind of pookied it on there. I still got to dig some of this out. I'm gonna wait till it dries good though. It's always better to get silicone off after it dries and try to get it off while it's wet. It just smears all over. So what you're seeing now is this thing powered up, and see, it's running off that charger right there, the voltage on here. But if I kill this, it will turn this off. And before I didn't have it that way. Like if you just killed the power supply. So there's still voltage from the charger going to the 2 banana plugs back here for this. But I put a relay in there that will disconnect this when the rest of the dyno loses power. So I'll turn it back on. You see it comes back, okay? And of course, everything's still working fine. I did put some better nuts. I put some lock nuts in the back, and I use steel. Don't use stainless steel. Stainless steel, I mean, it's not really that big a deal, but stainless steel is not going to conduct as well as a regular little galvanized nut or whatever, little steel nut. And I also put some little steel star washers back there so it stays not digs into the little aluminum, I'm sorry, not aluminum, copper, the copper lugs. Just a good positive connection. So got that going on, and twice today I've cleaned the mess that was in here. Big old mess. So some other things, I think all this right here, I'm just gonna remove it. I got another scope coming. It's a little digital scope, and I just think it'll be better for this, a little nicer. And also I have a Crompton meter similar to this. It don't have the bar graph, but it does have a digital display, and it's 0 to 30 volts, and 15 is at the 12 o'clock. And I think I'm gonna use that meter along with this one and maybe put them in this box together, which means I'll probably have to put that down there. I'll move this meter here, and I'll have the 0 to 30 volt DC meter here, and that meter, that 30 volt meter, is going to monitor my lithiums. And I bought these lithiums from a guy on eBay. These are Lev 60F cells, and some people love them, some people hate them. However, if you go to Jag 35, which is where these came from, I'm sure, these cells are badass. He did like an 800 amp load test on one of these, and I don't remember. It seems like it went for at least, well, it was either 5 or 13 minutes, I don't know. But these cells, they'll do, I think, they're rated for 180 a cell. So a setup like this will do 360 amps. This 4S 2P will do 360 amps continuous rated. And the guy on Jag 35, he got way over that. All he could do is load it up to about 800 amps. He got 800 amps out of that. And two of them together, so 360 and another 360. And then this thing will do, it will dump even more than that. It'll do, like, both of these together will do like 2,400 amps. And these cells, I think, are like 173 amp hour a piece. So I think this is like, what, 296 or 98 amp hours together. They're gonna be paralleled. And I do have wire. I got some 4-aught, I got some 2-aught, and for to go from the amp to the dyno, I got some Sky High, because I know most people's probably gonna want to see Sky High. And I ordered this expensive piece of copper right here. It's 1/4 inch. I think it's 1.5 inches wide by 24 inches. And the reason why is I I'm gonna have a emergency shutdown on this. In case an amp blows, I have a mushroom emergency stop switch over there that I ordered in that box. And I ordered 4 500 amp relays. And I'm gonna parallel them because I found a 2000 amp relay, but it was so stupid expensive I wasn't paying almost $1,000 for that. So I got these other relays for a lot cheaper. I think I got 4 of them for about 200 bucks. And they just made it to the States yesterday. I'm waiting for them to get here. Really good relays. They like sealed, hermetically sealed. Actually, they're explosion proof. And the only caveat with those is they run on 24 volts. So I got another little supply like that will power those relays. And I'm going to use that copper bar. I'm going to put 4 of them. I'm going to use copper bar on this side and copper bar on this side. And the batteries are going to go in on one side of the relay bank. And then the other side is going to come out. And yes, I got this. There's 24 volt power supply. I know some of y'all are going to hate on me for this, but I like some of Steve Mead's stuff. And this thing was kind of expensive. You know, this is a 4 A&L fuse distribution block. And this thing is going to live back up in here somewhere because power wires are going to come. I got to move some stuff around, but it's still got the stuff on this so you don't scratch it. But if you look real good, you can see SMD on there. And this thing wasn't cheap, y'all. Kind of had to grit my teeth to buy it. But he does make some good stuff. I know some people may not like some of Steve Mead's stuff, but I've never had any problem with, you know, stuff like this. So I'm gonna have grounds there, and I've got 2 15-foot runs of 4-aught, and I got 2 10-foot runs of 2-aught. And the 2-aught, the yellow and black's gonna go from the charger. Cut the wires exactly in half. They're gonna come down here and charge these batteries. And then the 4-aught's gonna go from there. And I'm probably gonna put the relays up under here. And then somewhere right here, I'm gonna have that mushroom button. And what I'll do is it's gonna kill power to this that goes to the amp. You know, if the amp starts popping and smoking, I can just hit that mushroom button and it'll kill power. And I watch some of them Dyno videos. I think even like Big D, and I like Big D's Dyno videos. They'll get that Allen wrench, man, and hurry up, try to undo that thing while it's smoking and popping. Not me, cuz I'm gonna have a emergency stop button, kill power this thing, and those 4 500 amp relays in parallel will handle 2,000 amps. Doubt if we ever get to 2,000 amps on an amp, but I definitely got enough lithium to do it. Oh, also I got some balancers for those. Let's see if I can find them in here. Y'all excuse my mess. I got all this stuff in from Amazon, and I just went through it yet because I just got home today. Let's see. Balancer. Oh, I might use this thing to adjust volume. It looked pretty cool. It's a little clicky pot too. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, this looks like one of the balancers. These are the balancers right here. So these are some 5 amp balancers. And those Lev 60F cells, they're like 3.2 volt cells. So 4 of them together, I think you can get right at what, 13.8 volts or whatever. And they were for like starting batteries. They were taking out like some starting batteries, and usually that battery, these are made by USA right here, the Japanese company. And however, I found out you can go 14.4 with these, and that's all I'm gonna test with this dyno, y'all. I'm not going to like 15, 16, 18 volts, all that craziness. Mainly because this lithium 14.4 is the absolute highest. I feel safe going with them. Just because of the kind of lithiums they are. So, and then I'm running 4S 4P right here. So this is a little balancer. It's got a little screen that shows the battery health. They had ordered this from China too. But it's a 5 amp. It's for a 4S. And I've checked all these cells already. They're all pretty balanced. Right now they're both sitting at 13 volts. I checked them today when I got back after 2 weeks. And they're both sitting exactly 13 volts, about where I charged them last time. And if you don't know, lithium batteries like this, if they're gonna sit for a while, don't charge them all the way slap up. And it's kind of stressful on the batteries, and I guess it can potentially kind of shorten the life of them. You should charge them about 50-60%. So I guess 13 volts is, right there in the sweet spot. Plus, if you do charge these up to 14.4 volts, they'll probably float somewhere between 13.2, 13.6, something like that after a while, taking it off the charger. And just for intermittent use like this, where we're just testing amps, I think that'll be fine. If I'm not gonna test amps for a while, I'll probably just run an amplifier. I got a little box right there. I'm gonna slap some low 8s in, draw some current on this thing, and just let them sit somewhere around the mid to low 13s. So I got to get to I'll probably tomorrow I'll hook these BMSs up to those batteries. What else? Oh yeah, that Usina or Usina, however they say it, charger. That manual was in Portuguese, and while I was at work at night, because I work away from home a lot, I used Adobe this time. We had that at work, and it translated a lot better. And what it didn't translate, I actually put the original next to the other one, and I copy and paste some of the words Adobe didn't translate so well into Google Translate, and I actually converted it into a Word file, and I manually put words in there. It makes a lot more sense now. So this thing does say on the box, 230 volts, 50 amps, and I should have known better. Like this wire that's going in there, that's 6mm wire. And if 6mm wire is closest to like AWG number 10, and what is 10 rated at? 30 amps. So I started looking at the data on this thing and the max watts, and they got a chart in there that shows, I think you got to get it over about 190 or 170 to 80 volts, somewhere in there. I'm to get the full 500 amps out of it, but at those lower voltages, you can potentially get all that current, but it draws like 50 amps at those lower voltages, which is insane. So I did the calculations and stuff, and at 240 volts, at 500 amps, it's right around 30 amps. So this is one of them things that I kind of overlooked. I did run a 50 amp service, but today I did have a 30 amp 2-pole. I just changed the 50 amp in the box and I put 30 amp service. I feel better about that because I was worried about that number 6 wire going in there. But after reevaluating it and going over the manual good, I do realize that at 240 volts, it requires 30 amp service. So still got a 50 amp plug. I ain't changing it. It's fine. If I ever move out of the house, I'll change the plug for somebody else, because technically your receptacle is supposed to match your breaker, but this number 6 wire that's rated for 55 amps is fine. You can keep that in there. So I know that it's on a 30 amp breaker, and I'm okay with that. So what else? Sound like my boss in the meeting. What else? What else? Keep the meeting going. So I do have the 81 test tracks, and I do have a DD1, you know, to set this thing for 1% distortion. On a 0 dB track, you can set your amp to gain to trip the 1% distortion by disconnecting the amp and putting the DD1 across the output terminals of the amp, and then you turn your radio up to the loudest undistorted volume where you don't get any distortion. You probably have to look at that scope, or DD1 probably would do it too, but and make a note where that's at, and then you adjust the gain on your amp till you get 1%. I'm sorry, not 1 dB, but 1% distortion. And then they recommend a 5 dB overlap, and there's 2 ways to do that. The way SMD recommends is after you set it up on a 0 dB track and you set the gain right where the max volume will give you 1% distortion, is you go back and you play a negative 5 dB track at the same frequency, and you turn the radio back up to its loudest volume. Now the amp's underdriven, so now you got to bump the gain up even more to get that 1% distortion. That's your overlap. Another way to do it is if you go back and you use a 0 dB track and you set the amp up for 1% distortion, where the gain's max at 1% distortion, the radio's at its max clean volume. You measure your voltage on your RCA, okay? And let's say it's 2 volts RMS. All right. You multiply that times 1.778. And the answer to that is what you're going to adjust your voltage to your amp. Now you would have to have a radio that goes even higher, but if you wanted to do it that way, you can use something like this. This is a function generator, and this thing puts out pretty nice hefty signal. And I may use this thing, I don't know. If you want to do a 3 dB overlap, you multiply your voltage that you set it up originally by 1.414, and whatever voltage that comes out to, you will set your gain to go up to that voltage going to the amp, where without adjusting the gain on the amp, that way it overdrives it by that extra voltage to get that overlap. So there's multiple ways of doing it. Still gonna put that isolation transformer under there. I've been wanting to do that anyway, because I do work on tube amps, guitar amps and stuff, and sometimes you need to isolate it. I do have a Variac. It's way over there in the corner, that red thing. else. Well, when I get this all set up, man, I'll give it a test, make sure it works, and I guess we'll make a video on it. And those batteries, that's just a little foam mat that I cut. I just didn't want to set them on the concrete. And I don't know if I'm going to keep them there. I may move them right here. That way my runs of wire short going to this beast of a thing. And I'm not going to run fuses in this. I'm probably going to just jumper these because I'm going to have that ESD. And honestly, y'all, fuses, it's a little smaller connection, and it's made to get hot and melt if you pull too much current. But most people don't realize fuses have a voltage drop, man. It can be a couple of tenths of a volt, or it can even be over a volt depending on the current you pull. So, and the size fuse you put in there, obviously a smaller fuse, like a 200 amp fuse, is going to have more of a voltage drop than a 400 or 500 amp fuse. But I'm going to skip that all together. And you see how these four right here got a bus bar on it? Really needed that on the other side where the incoming power is coming, but it's not like that. These are all separate. So I think I'm gonna put a bar across here, and hopefully I got enough. Yeah, I'll have enough thread to run at least 2 runs of 4-aught. Then I'm probably gonna put little bar jumpers in here, and hopefully I have enough copper bar left to do that in copper. And then this will be where I hook up wire to go power the amp and grounds. Still waiting on a shunt for that. Ram Meter Inc. is making me one, and the projected ship date is April 14th. The Chinese shunt from Frugo online, they don't even respond. They aggravate me. I've even contacted the actual company that's supposed to send it. It's called Core Parts, and they're in China, and I've emailed the guy. It's like his personal email. Doesn't respond. I told him, I said, if you don't have a part to sell, don't list it, because that's what I think happened, is they just didn't have any of them. So I think this video is going on long enough. Sorry for all the parts. I'm just kind of doing this as I can, but hope y'all like this little dyno. I think it looks pretty cool for a homemade special. And let's see here. Yep, you see, so in mono mode, I put a LED for this right here, and I just left those. And you can see it's not nearly as bright as it was in my other videos. And then stereo mode over here, I put the same kind of LED here. And of course, you go through the resistances. And I'm glad I got it where it disconnects loads, because I'll have the DD1 hooked to this, and when I'm adjusting the gain, it's going to come off that tap back there, so I don't have to take it off and put it on the output of the amp with no load and set it. So all I got to do is turn the loads off, and it's leave the amp connected here. It's going to read the voltage without a load, so I can set the gain to 1% distortion. As for a clip indicator, y'all, I may have to just use the AMM1, or just use a scope, and we'll just get the clip and just take a reading. So they don't really have good clip indicators out there. They got circuits you can build, but some of them are kind of involved, and then you got to hook it to the rail voltages. That would involve getting into the amp and all that. So if the amp don't have one built into it, you know, it's not really practical. And the AD one, like Big D got, and some of the other YouTubers, and the AMM one, they got a little, I guess that's a Hall effect donut or something in there, along with a coil to detect those DC square wave pulses or something, or and their own little proprietary circuit that triggers that little clip light. Who knows? But we'll figure it out. We'll get something going. All right. Y'all have a good night. I'll try to update as soon as I get some more done.